Now, our main focus shifts towards round 11 of the Betfred Super League and the round 12 debrief, as well as a look at the mid-season international between England and the Combined Nations All-Star side. But before we get into any of that, we got to do the round 11 debrief first, and we start off this week's action, or last week's I should say, the Warrington Wolves coming out and downing the Leeds Centurions 44-18.
No real surprise there that Warrington are going to win.
Well, our previous comments, actually last week's comments we made about the Leeds Centurions, yeah, they didn't really go through now, did they?
Well, no, but at least, like I said, at least I keep saying they're getting points on the board, which is better than getting held scoreless.
Oh,
so
absolutely right.
They were just over 20 points. Like it was only just over a 20-point loss. So
when you think about it, Liam Hood dies from dummy half, so he exposes the Warrington defence around the middle of the ruck. Matty G makes a long break. Now, why in the hell did he not pass to Ryan Briley on his outside when he had the chance? I don't understand that. I honestly do not understand why he didn't pass.
He should have passed.
And it was up to Joe Miller after that to try and set up Mark Ioane.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure there was one other try scorer who's
for
the Leeds Centurions.
No, Walker's just give me a quick look.
Because I definitely know.
That one.
Oh, I could definitely.
So does Mark.
Yeah, Ioane.
Junior Sal.
Oh, Junior Sal was the other one. That's right.
Yeah.
Like 3 Warrington defenders hanging off of him. This powerhouse of a centre.
Yeah, I was like, how did he get over that with 3 defenders hanging off him? It was like, wow. But
Probably soft tacklers.
Yeah. Like, it was just too strong for that, but 18 points is better than none.
Yeah. As for Warrington, though, they're just...
The only thing that they're consistent at this year is getting points on the board. I know they're not winning, but they're consistently getting points on the board.
I mean, it was 14-6 at one stage, so things could have easily swung Lee's way, especially with the amount of outs Warrington had.
Yeah, but Warrington were also going to be too classy come the end of the match.
The show and goes, breaking out a dummy half with Danny Walker.
Well, Winnip and Austin's combination went well again as Austin.
The long-range intercept try from Tom Lynham. That was just added insult upon 12 consecutive defeat in league matches.
Yeah, but it just shows that Lee, just obviously not there, but Warrington for that intercept try. It's just I don't think Lee had the. I think Warrington had the more numbers in the defence than what Lee had in the attack.
Well, both sides of the field, unfortunately, Lee's defence and structures were all out of whack. I mean, the first try was just sort of like Gareth Widdop to Blake Austin, double pump, show and go, and then he was in for the first try straight up.
Yeah. And
then you had Danny Walker scheming in and around dummy half in the absence of Darryl Clark, and he definitely stood up very nicely there.
Yeah, he definitely did. Like, one quality player lost, but then another quality player to replace him. It's kind of like a like-for-like replacement. I don't know if you keep Walker somewhere in the side next week or this upcoming week.
I think Walker will maintain his place on the bench.
Yeah, more than likely.
I mean, he signed from Widnes, and he's gotten this great opportunity and a lot of game time at the Warrington Wolves, and I think he'll fit in nicely, not just with the way Steve Price has got it going, but with what Darryl Powell, I should say, has in store when he joins the Wire in 2022.
Yeah, things are looking good for him and the whole club overall.
But
as for Lee, I'm not quite sure.
Old Trafford is still what eludes the Warrington Wolves. They've made it to Old Trafford and lost. They've made it to Wembley twice, lost the first time, won the second time, but they've still not claimed a Super League title.
It could change this year. Like, they're on the verge of the top 2.
They're running third at the moment.
So it's easily doable, but there is still a long way to go, and anything can happen.
Oh, there definitely is. But at the moment, for all the talk about whether he's staying or he's going, Gareth Widdop, one of the standouts in that game.
Yet again.
One try assist, 8 from 9 goals converted.
Yeah, he's just playing brilliantly over there. Like,
This
Is
is
that
probably the
hard?
best, especially now with Austin and Webb. This is probably the best time for them to click.
and they've been obviously
We know
They're-
we know what the Warrington Wolves are capable of. It's just a matter of standing up in the big games.
yeah, like Austin would have. They've been a very strong combination since pretty much the get go this season, and also they've been building on that as the season progresses through, and now they're just hitting high form at the moment, and also they'll
But it's
continue-
maintaining that form that will be the big thing.
Well, yes, I believe they will be able to because of how both players are very, very good quality. So they'll be up there.
Well, someone who's really slipping away from high quality football, it's the Wigan Warriors after going down to Wakefield 14 points to 6.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise one, you could say. Like, it was close, don't get me wrong, but it could have been that bit closer again. Or it could have been a bit more high
One try
scoring.
in it. Up until Wakefield hit that penalty goal, there was one try in it.
Yeah.
But Wigan's right side, with no John Bateman, no Zach Hardacre, already without Bevan French as well. Liam Marshall was playing fullback. But Wakefield, Tom Johnston on his own, put Wakefield on the upside.
Yeah. I don't know how many wins Wakefield had on a trot at the moment. Because they did win a couple in a row, then they lost, I believe.
Well, I think Wakefield, they were looking scratchy, but they've clicked into gear and they've. I
And
would
at the
honestly
right
believe,
time.
I would believe that they met the Wigan Warriors. They could have met Wigan at a better time when all the big guns of their squad were either out due to rep honours or decimated with injury. Excuse me. So it was a very fortunate time for Wakefield to be playing Wigan, and solid to Chris Chester's men. They pulled through with the win.
Yeah, Wakefield are definitely going alright. They did have 2 losses in a row just recently.
After their
After
3-game
their
winning
3
run.
in a row. But so you could say over the past 6 matches, they've won 4 out of 6.
Their recent form in the last month and a bit, you would say, has been up there.
A lot better than what they were at the start of the season. And it's good to see. They're getting... I don't know if they'll make the playoffs or not.
It's a very congested top 6, and
But it's looking likely that they could. They could sprint a surprise out of nowhere.
well, the way you got to factor in Catalan, St Helens, Warrington, Wigan, Hull FC, and Hull KR, you got to get in front of, and then Castleford and Huddersfield are both outside the top 6, looking to get in there.
Well, that is very, very true. So it is congested, like you said. But if Wakefield can knock off Wigan during a regular season match, if they had to play each other in the finals, who says they can't knock them off again? But Wigan, by then, might be in better form.
Their squad will be in better shape.
Yeah,
Hopefully. Depends on all the injuries.
yeah, you had to factor that in as well. But yeah, Wakefield are looking good at the moment. They could just sneak in there under everyone's radar and surprise a couple of teams around them.
It's one thing to knock off one of the grand finalist sides. I mean, of course, Wigan were the first us to drop up with defeat, and then the Saints got knocked off a couple of times. By Warrington, of course.
Yes,
But
there's also another quality side. But yeah, and it's good to see Wakefield going well.
well, going better than what they were going at.
Well, yes, true.
At the last 6 weeks have been better for Trinity than the first 6.
Yes, very much so. And
And it's completely likely that Chris Chester will somehow manage to keep his job just for a little bit longer.
well, it's coming into random at the mid-season almost, so
We're practically close to the halfway point as it is. 2 weeks out from the halfway point.
so they keep it going, they'll be there or
The
thereabouts.
top 6 race will get tighter.
It's got to go down to the wire top 6 race, whether or not they make it into the top 6 or not. Will definitely come down on how many wins they've had.
And the win percentage. Now,
That's what it'll come
that
down.
and points percentage. Those would be the
That's
two
what I'll
big
come-
deciding factors in all of this.
Yeah. Hopefully, it's good for Wakefield.
Now, other action that had occurred at the same time as the events at both Wakefield and at Warrington, the Catalan Dragons maintained their place top of the table, downing the Castleford Tigers 16-6.
Only 10 points in it. See, I thought it might have been a bit more high scoring game because Catalans have been playing well, obviously, because they're on top of the table.
But
And
you were thinking with no Sam Tompkins and no Tom Davis, they would struggle a little bit.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. But this shows that they can still, play well without key players.
What I noticed, there were so many attempts the Catalan Dragons could have had to score a try. There were more attempts than what were actually shown, but some of those attempts they were knocked back, probably very lucky due to double movement.
Yeah, that's
So-
two double movement try.
First, I think with Fuad Yaha, and then Artur Morg tried his luck, and it didn't work for him.
Yeah, so two disallowed tries because of double movement. That's
It could have been a lot worse for Daryl Powell, and he knows it.
yeah, but it ultimately, well, obviously wasn't as bad as anticipated, but still, yeah. But Castleford held to 6. That's not like them at all.
No, it certainly is.
But they were like I said, They were coming up against the top, like the leader.
Yeah, the current league leaders.
Yeah, so gonna expect some sort of down.
Josh
but-
Drinkwater had an outstanding game. Someone else I think had an outstanding game. Julian Bousquet in the middle of the field. 128 running meters, 1 tackle break, and 3 offloads.
Wow, that's a fantastic game.
That's a good.
Especially in the middle of the field, to get 128 run meters. Yeah. You're starting to see it more and more often across both Super League and NRL. It's become a more regular thing that middle players are starting to rack up triple figures.
Decent sized triple figures, I should say.
Well, yeah, that too. But really, the only thing that was in Casford's positive forecaster was that try. There's nothing
A
really
solitary
else
try to Daryl Alfords.
at the very end of the match, you could say, or near the very end. It's just they weren't themselves.
Yeah,
Hopefully-
I think they have shot themselves in the foot.
Maybe, but like I said, or like we said, it's just a couple of weeks out from halfway, so anything can still happen. There's my momentum not change around, change for fortune might change, but we just have to wait and see. Really,
Yeah, I definitely think that is the case with the Tigers. We know what they are capable of, but I think injuries, again, with Wigan, they play on a heavy toll as well.
yeah.
Meanwhile, over at the KCOM Stadium, as it still will be known, up until NKM take charge, Hull FC overturning a 10-0 deficit to come out on top 17 points to 10.
Yeah, it was a good game overall. Mark Snead getting a field goal just to make sure they've got that victory, just in case Huddersfield got a late.
What
Converted
concerned me
try.
about that was Huddersfield only scored 1 try and all that, and they kicked 2 other goals on top of that.
Yeah.
If you want to be in the top 6, you can't afford to be scoring 1 try a game. You should be scoring,
3 to 4.
I would think 3 to 5 would be a reasonable range. Unless it's a low scoring affair like Warrington and St Helens did a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, that was a very low score.
You should not be scoring 1 try, especially with some of the best attacking sides currently sitting in that top 6. These are your Saints, these are your Wigans when they're playing well. Warrington and Catalan are probably the 2 biggest attacking threats at the moment, especially with Warrington being the leading point scorer in this league at the moment.
Yeah. Like Huddersfield, they just need to maybe work on the attack a bit better.
Well, someone who was working on the attack big time, Mark Snead. 3 try assists, 1 tackle break, converted 2 from 4 goals, so not a good night with the boot. But you did mention that 1 drop goal to put the result beyond reasonable doubt.
Yeah, it's just a quality play. Like Hull FC at the moment, probably one of the most informed teams of the competition alongside Catalans.
Warrington, I think, is the most informed side, but you would have to think Hull FC and the Catalan Dragons are both sniffing around on that 2nd and 3rd informed team sheet at the moment.
True, but I thought it might have been a bit more closer. I know 7 points is close, but I thought it might have been like maybe 1 to 2 points in it. But
You also have to see that Huddersfield's defence was also pulled out of whack. Especially with Mahe Fanua, that he could just tear defensive sides apart just with his presence, and then and just the way they conceded the try involving Connor Wynn.
Oh, mate, how was that?
Just what was that goal line defense doing?
Or even a grubber kick. Just
At
caught them
worst,
off
that should have
guard.
been the goal line dropout to Hull FC. But they Huddersfield honestly made that situation so much worse.
For themselves.
It was the case. Yes, they have.
They should have been able to clean that ball and like you said, for.
I mean,
get a goal
I
line
get
dropout.
wicked bounces, but you got to be ready
For anything really.
to expect
ball-
the unexpected.
It's just the shape of the ball and sometimes how it lands on itself. It could bounce here everywhere.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, Hull FC are there in the top six. And they're looking at the situation with Wigan at the moment and thinking we can go one place closer towards the top two.
Yeah. And it could
If
happen,
Wigan can't arrest this sliding momentum.
and it could happen in a week or two. It's just depending on how Wigan go.
Yes.
And the points percentage, of course.
Now, I did allude, Conrad Hurrell attempted his boxing debut at the top of the hour, and that he got dropped by a knockout as Salford fell to the Leeds Rhinos, 38 points to 12. And I tell you what, that was a very spiteful encounter between Salford and Leeds.
It was got quite fiery at times, didn't it?
2 red cards.
2 red cards, one from each team, and then at one stage both teams were down to 11 men.
But it seems the Leeds Rhinos were able to kick into gear much quicker and were much more organised than the Salford defence. I mean, the left edge of Leeds alone doubled to Jack Broadbent, a double to Tom Briscoe, and then you had Rishi Myler, who probably was the best on ground that day. 2 tries, he scored on the other side of the field, taking out Salford's left edge. 2 try assists, 8 tackle breaks, 149 running meters, and chucking an offload on top of that.
Yeah, he had an absolute blinder of a game.
And for Luke Gale, not so much Ash Handley, I think, but for Luke Gale and Mikolaj Oledzki to back up, I think, in that case, I definitely know Gale was there,
Yeah,
to back up after the mid-season international. That was just a fantastic performance from the Leeds Rhinos.
it definitely was, and even Luke Gale got yellow carded, and to score, that really put the yellow card behind him, and so he had that little bit of a period where
After he got cleaned up.
Yeah.
But that sparked an all-in. Not as
it wasn't the first one either.
No, it was
As
certainly
you know.
not the first one, and Lee Moss was probably regretting dropping Conrad Hurrell in the first round.
But as you said, his boxing debut didn't go so well.
Nope.
So
Did not.
he might need to work on that over the off season.
Or maybe just not get involved with front rowers is on the field.
Yeah, that too. But
This is probably a big win for Richard Agar's side because Leeds have had a lot of trouble with player availability. Of course, Jack Walker hasn't featured much this year. Harry Newman's still on and off with the injuries. Robert Louis, I think might be done at the end of the year. Then you got Luke Gale, of course, has been a bit of a problem child with injury in the past. So they
plus,
needed this win,
all
Leeds.
on top of that, they've had to miss a couple of weeks because of a certain din as well.
Yes,
Just to add on to top of it.
indeed, postponed matches. That
I
has
think
been
they
the
had
case.
two in
Yeah,
a row.
yep.
So-
One match against the reigning champion St Helens, and the other one, a trip to Perpignan, I think. Both have already been rescheduled.
But that's the last thing they needed. But the win really would have helped them, and like you said, a much deserved and needed victory for the Rhinos.
Just keeps them in touch with the top 6.
But they may play catch if they win the 2 postponed matches. That will bring them back into contention.
They'll come.
They'll
We'll
come.
see how it goes.
They'll probably come at the right time of the year and go for it, and then come out not come out of nowhere, but come from just on the verge to being comfortably in. They're kind of like the Sydney Roosters. They might start off slow at the start of the year,
and then build into it.
Rather
than trying to peak early, just try and build
like a
to then peak.
Yeah, I'd say that's what the Leeds Rhinos are building up to.
Well, we'll see how that pans out for them. Definitely be interesting to see how far they can reach it. And finally, a much divisive mid-season international fixture where England go down to the Combined Nations All-Stars 26 to 24.
It was a really tit for tat game. It was like literally one end to the other. Like points were coming everywhere from both sides, and yeah, it was a really close match. And overall, the England side went down.
For Tim Sheens to throw a side together in a couple of days that have not played together, we're going up against an England side looking ahead to October to hopefully a World Cup on home soil, who saw this as rightfully so as a mid-season hit out before the World Cup proper.
And did I not say that I've had a feeling that Tim Sheens had the better side? Well, not the better side.
Well, you had probably two bona fide England internationals and a pretender in Jackson Hastings.
Yeah.
Who apparently is eligible somehow.
Somehow, yeah.
But the way they started, that cutout ball, and it was actually Hastings and Jake Connor before he went down injured, I think with that ankle. That beautiful cutout ball to set up Ken Seo for the first try of the night.
Yeah, that was unbelievable. Like good teamwork and good lead-up work.
That was some beautiful lead-up work. But England found their groove, and oh god, Liam Farrell, he has got to be amongst one of England's best back row options. I mean, we know there's John Bateman, there's Elliot Whitehead, but I wouldn't be surprised if this bloke is either starting in the second row or he's nabbing a centre spot for England at the World Cup, depending on Oliver Gildart's fitness.
Yeah. He has to be in the squad somewhere in the World Cup, if we get a World Cup, but he's just unbelievable.
His form for Wigan,
brilliant season.
His form for Wigan has been superb.
That made
and his versatility between both centre and second row, second to none.
Well, whenever he played, like you said, centre or second row, he just never looks out of position.
And to take on Jake Connor and win as well, that was just satisfying to watch.
It definitely was.
I was just like he could have got chased down at any point, but he was able to hold off and go all the way.
Somehow hold off. No, he's really good. It really came down to see who had the better, I don't know, defence, you could say,
well,
to win the match.
At the same time, the All-Stars did get very lucky off of Ken Seo's second try when it did seem apparent that Jake Connor knocked the ball on.
Yeah, that's true.
That looked very contentious, and that one try could have made all the difference.
It could have. Yeah, one try can make a heap of difference in any sort of match.
But it was a good debut for Morgan Knowles. I mean, already asked to start when Alex Walmsley withdrew from the side.
Yeah.
That try I scored in the second half, that was just a brilliant hole he hit.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was at the right place, right time, and end up in the right result overall, scoring a try. So
if he can back it up against the E.G. Bate at the second warm-up, just a week out from hopefully the World Cup opener in Newcastle, St James Park, Newcastle, not here down under.
Yeah.
Although there could be secret talks about that. Who knows? It's speculation if they try and get the World Cup move, but I suppose the British government and the British authorities of rugby league might have something else to say about that matter.
We'll also get back onto that when we get information about it, but
it's a wait and see game, big time. It's a wait and see game.
Yeah.
But hopefully, I mean they'll factor in the players' health, but
health and the quarantine restrictions and the travel restrictions and all that between now and then. So who knows what's going to happen if we get a World Cup or not? I hope we do get a World Cup.
Yeah, because I think everyone's thinking, don't let this World Cup be overshadowed by the FIFA World Cup next year.
Well, yeah,
if it is to be postponed.
Yeah.
And or other big sporting fixtures is going on next year. But that's a story for another day to cover. And finally, at long last, round 12 of the Betfred Super League gets underway at 4:45 tomorrow morning at Australian Eastern Standard Time. St Helens have already been declared victors over the Castleford Tigers without having to lace up a boot. The RFL and Super League seem fit to award Saints a 24-0 victory because Castleford were unable to fulfil this fixture due to the fact that they couldn't name a full side for
Which
game.
is very, very rare.
This
in
is only
rugby
the
league.
second time this has happened. The last time it happened, it was Warrington against Salford, and Warrington were given a 24-0 victory then as well.
When was that?
Last year,
Last year. There you
because
go.
Salford too were unable to fulfil their commitments, so they forfeited and Saints picked up the points.
Easiest 2 points St. Helens will ever get, other than a bye if they have byes. But
They don't have buys. They just have weeks off.
or weeks off. But very easy to competition points there for St. Helens. But it's unfortunate Castleford couldn't.
Whole
Name a
whole
side.
host of I wouldn't say unforeseen, but there was a long, unfortunate series of factors that played against them. But rules are the rules, and they had to no choice
Yeah.
at the end of it all.
It's sad to see that happen. So, I don't know how well Castleford have played against St. Helens if the match did actually.
But you also
Right.
got to keep in mind 3 weeks the Challenge Cup finals on at Wembley, so the situation might change there.
Possibly.
Now, enough about that. Now, a real source of entertainment: the Wigan Warriors and the Warrington Wolves at the DW Stadium, 5:15 on Fox League, Australian Eastern Standard Time. You said this if we had this picture on 2 months ago, the result would look very different. But now, with the list of injuries banking up for Wigan, I mean, there'll be no Bevan French because he's out for the rest of the year, but has exercised his option for 2022, or the club has. There's no John Bateman, probably for the next 4 to 6 weeks. I imagine Jackson Hastings is backing up for Wigan,
Yes, he is, because the squad's
but there's still no word on Zach Hardacre, and because of the problem with apparently going on with his neck, he might not be back for some time.
which is unfortunate.
Jai Field's still out. He would have been a very useful option at fullback. And then you got the Warrington Wolves on a big roll, and their only concern is Gareth Widdop, who is not in the 21-man squad.
No, he's not at all. So, although that won't it will put a small dent in the
The way Wigan
squad,
have
but-
been struggling over the last 3 weeks, and the recent almost month and a half domination that the Warrington Wolves have put on especially down their left-hand side, and the combination between Widdop and Blake Austin, this could be a real. I wouldn't say this is going to be a test, because Warrington have already gone up against the very best, and they have come out the other side victorious. And if their defence holds up like it did, I think this is going to be a Warrington 13+ win.
Well, like I said, we had this match 2 weeks, or sorry,
2 months.
2 months ago. It would have been a lot closer.
Wigan would have
and harder
actually
to
been
pre-
in this match.
and it would have been very, very hard to predict the winner. But the rate of current form
Warrington are on fire, and Wigan
aren't.
are in trouble, and the Wolves are hunting.
Yes. Look, I'm going to have to say Warrington victory. Looking at recent form, it has to be Warrington Wolves. Wigan haven't been themselves. It'll be 13+ victory for Warrington, surely.
And
But who knows? There could be an upset.
Yep. And because the whole derby has been pushed back as Hull Kingston Rovers aren't do any fixtures between now and then. We only have 3 more games left in round 12. Salford up against Wakefield.
Well.
There'll be several players missing for Salford. Lee Mossop will be one of them. There's probably going to be a couple of other players that got caught up in the scuffle with the Rhinos. So a total of 6 players were banned. Probably 3 Leeds, 3 Salford. It's look, the Salford defence and the Salford attack.
Well, I say the defence is worse than the attack.
Well, Salford,
Well, attack ain't too flash either, but
it really isn't.
it's better than the defence.
As for Wakefield, they were able to ground out a defensive victory against a weakened runners-up in the grand final, or Wigan. But they had to still score, and they performed remarkably well against Wigan, and I think they'll take a lot of confidence out of that game. Ultimately, they would be looking at Salford's right edge defensively, trying to go at Joe Burgess in the centres,
Yeah.
and David Fafita will probably really take it to the forwards.
Yeah.
odds of the Red Devils.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Like Wakefield are in a better form than Salford, and they have the. I'm going to say I think they have the better pack overall, than the Red Devils. So, I mean, who knows? Wakefield could have a bit of a off day for some reason, and Salford might be having a good day.
Overconfidence. Is that what you're trying to get at here?
Yeah, like teams teams sometimes go into matches thinking, "Oh, this is an easy victory," and then they lose. A perfect example here in Australia was the Queen's birthday match between Dogs and Dragons. Dragons would have went into that match thinking, "Oh, easy victory," and it didn't happen. So I'm saying that could happen again.
Glorious
in this match.
day, Queen's birthday.
Yeah, I know, but that's what could happen in this match. Like Wakefield could be going in thinking, "Oh, easy victory," and Salford could come out on top. Could.
No, I think Wakefield will come away. I think it'll be 13 plus victory for the Trinity.
Yeah. Well, like I said, the rate that the Devils have been playing over the last few weeks compared to Wakefield. Wakefield have got the better form, momentum, confidence, you name it all the positives. So it'll be a Wakefield 1-12 victory. They're not going to get away with it, but they will win. So Wakefield 1-12.
Two more results in round 12. There might be time to cover round 13 as well. But we'll stick with round 12 for the moment. Huddersfield playing host to the top of the table Dragons.
Yeah, the rate that Huddersfield did play, well, they only lost by 7 last against.
But they're coming up against the Catalan Dragons side. Sam Tompkins will be back in the side, as will Tom Davies. So that would mean Mathieu Laguerre drops out once more. But I think Catalan are just too good. Will be just too good on the day. I think Josh Drinkwater is the ultimate pivot that's leading this Dragons attack around, and they got options left and right to the scrum base. So I think
like Maloney there helping Mark Drinkwater. Obviously, he's been playing a good part this season.
And of course, having players like Arthur Morgue, or bona fide French players as running around showing their stripes. This will be a Catalan's 13 plus victory right here. I think they will go hard at Huddersfield's, well, probably both sides of Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Its edge defence, and I think Josh Drinkwater will be pulling the strings very well.
Yeah, Catalans, they're just in magnificent form so far this season, and hence why they're on top of the current table. And Huddersfield just weren't, like, they were thereabouts against Hull FC, but they just couldn't quite get there overall. But yeah, it'll be Catalans 1-12 victory. 13 plus victory for Catalans, and continue their winning ways.
And finally, the final fixture for round 12 sees the Leeds Rhinos at home to the Leeds Centurions. Well, very much like the Giants. What can we say about Lee that has not already been said? I know this is a line we've probably repeated. I think
they will get points on the board.
They'll score. They'll probably do score, but
I'd say they'll get into double figures. Like they won't be held to 6 or 4 or 8 or whatever. They'll get into double figures.
It will really be dictated by how much ball they drop, how much they hang on to it, and how much they can execute. But after what Leeds put on at the weekend over Salford, I think this will very much continue, and I can't see anything but Leeds winning 13 the plus.
Well, this could be like another situation like the Salford Wakefield game. Leeds could be coming in and saying, "Oh, they're full of confidence and overconfident," you could say, and Leeds could come out and cause an upset, or be very, very close. I know a couple of weeks ago, or 2 weeks in a row, that Lee were within 10 points of winning a match. I'm going to say that's going to happen again. Lee will go on to lose, so Leeds will win the match in a 1-12 margin. I reckon the Centurions will give him a shot.
All right. Right, fair enough. So
Big call, but
you're going Leeds 1 to 12, are you?
the Rhinos 1 to 12.
All right. So Leeds
But
1
Lee
to
will
12.
give him the Centurions will give him a bit of a shot, but the Rhinos 1 to 12 is my final prediction.
Well, I was thinking about it just while you were thinking that, but I think we'll also do the round 13 predictions as well. But because we won't know the results until after the round 12 results go out, this is going to be some very, very early round 13 predictions. And first up, starting on Monday morning, we have St. Helens up against the Wigan Warriors. The first time the grand final rematch will go down.
Yes, it is, very much so. And I can see it one way.
I can see it one way as well. I think Wigan are on the slide, and I think it will still continue after they meet Warrington. This will be a Saints 13-plus victory.
It's like against Warrington this upcoming week. If you had this match 2 months ago, it would have been a lot closer.
But Saints are still on another level, and Wigan's injury crisis is only deepening.
Yeah.
And then on the
so Saints 13 plus as an early prediction.
2 fixtures on Tuesday because the Catalan Hull Kingston Rovers game is postponed, but we have Salford travelling to the newly minted MKM Stadium up against the Black and Whites of Hull FC. It's going to be the same thing again.
Yeah,
it's a Hull 13-plus victory.
Yeah, the rate, like I said, the rate Hull FC being playing compared to Salford against the bottom teams. It's
Ever since Salford lost Jackson Hastings and then lost Joey Lussick on top of that, they've fallen apart completely from that dream 2019 side.
They haven't really.
Ian Watson guided to Old Trafford.
They haven't really replaced the same. I mean, they've got good players in the squad. Don't get me wrong, but
direction
compared to Hastings and Lussick, it hasn't really been there. So they might be building something. You wouldn't say rebuilding phrase, but
they had that one fairy tale run and they failed to back it up twice.
So it'll be a Hull FC easy.
Yeah, and in front of the screens of Sky Sports, the Warrington Wolves up against the Leeds Rhinos. Now, this game will actually be entertaining.
It will be, because Leeds are coming onto something. They're slowly building up to something like I predicted.
But once again, Warrington, they're currently on a 5-game winning run. It could stretch to 6 if they down Wigan,
which is likely. This one, it could be a lot closer.
I think it would depend how both sides perform tomorrow or Thursday, on the Australian Eastern Standard Time, and then depending who's injured, what's suspensions looking like from one game to the next, and we'll just have to see it from there. But I'm gonna have to back Warrington 1 to 12 in a close one. I think Leeds will really, if they manage to keep the form up, they could offer up a real challenge, trying to push for a top 6 berth.
I reckon they will give the Wolves a challenge, no doubt about that. But I'm going to go opposite. I'm going to go to Rhinos for an upset in the 1 to 12 margin.
All right.
It's early predictions.
Going for Leeds. Yes, keep in mind these round 13 predictions that we have just decided on the fly are very early indeed. And finally,
and also we can have our final predictions next week.
The last game of round 13, Huddersfield Giants hosting the Castleford Tigers at the John Smith Stadium.
This one could be close as well. If Castleford manage to regain what they're like.
If they actually manage to field a side for once.
Well, yes. And then Huddersfield, they're there or thereabouts.
Really, with Huddersfield, it's 1 step forward, then they take 3 steps backwards.
Yeah. They're not good, but they're not bad. They're kind of that in-between side.
And there was much expectation placed on Ian Watson at the start of the season that he aimed to one of the big clubs, and he's just not matching expectation, even though he's signed Jack Cogger, he's signed Ricky Latelli, he's got Josh Jones from Hull FC, he's picked up Joe Greenwood from the Wigan Warriors. It just has not come together. They have tried in patches. One of their best performances, ironically, was against the Warrington Wolves, but they've just not been up to task or up to scratch.
Not yet. Things could change fortune.
I would think Castleford would bounce back.
Well, you think so.
I would
after
think
not
Daryl
fielding a
Powell
team
would light a
for-
fire at the jungle and say, "We got to dig deep here now because we got to be at Wembley in 3 weeks. We need to get some good form to take into that game, and then whether we win or lose at Wembley, we got to then focus on Old Trafford, and we got to make sure we get that top six up." So I'm going to back Castleford 1-12 here.
Well, considering Castleford have given away 2 points for not fielding a side against St Helens, you'd think they would be hoping to bounce back against Huddersfield. But like I said, Huddersfield, they're inconsistent of wins and that. So yeah, it could be like Huddersfield could win one week and then lose the next, and vice versa. This match could be like that. And Castleford are kind of in the same boat, but I think Castleford a bit more consistent in their winning form. I'm going to say Castleford 1-12.
Yeah. Well, that is full time from us. A bit more lengthy than we usually do, but it is what it is. It could be very long one week and very short or the next. But if you do like the work we do, both with the NRL and the Betfred Super League, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the Sideline Chat podcast so you never miss a week of rugby league action. Hope you enjoy round 12 and 13 of the Betfred Super League from one Wednesday to the next, and hope you enjoy the NRL action wherever you are in the country.
Or the world.
All the world, yes, that is definitely true. But from Mark Henry and Connor Marcellus, you have been watching the Sideline Chat podcast. See you next week.
See you next week, folks.